Hi students, welcome back to our English class. We are discussing about the song Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan from the second unit The Frames. In this part, we'll learn the line-by-line explanation of the song. Blowin' in the Wind was released in 1963 as the first single of his second studio album, The Free Will. Bob Dylan. It's a simple song sang accompanied only by a guitar and harmonica, but it is one of Dylan's most powerful songs. Through a series of rhetorical questions, Dylan raises issues such as oppression, war, and human rights violations that continue to trouble the world. Let's move to the line-by-line explanation of the poem. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? So, see students, on those days it was believed that a boy can become a man only after going to war. So, in these lines, the poet throws light on that belief. Showing his disagreement with this belief, asks how many roads, that is, how many times a person would be required to fight wars so that he may be called a man. Another interpretation of the stanza can be as follows. The poet wonders how much life experience a person has to suffer in order to be called a man. In other words, he wants to say that it is too much that society demands from a person. Next line, how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? In these lines, the poet asks another rhetorical question like, how many seas must a dove sail? That is, how many times the war will be fought before achieving peace. Sleeping in the sand refers to the fact that there is no war. In this line, the poet uses the phrase sleeps in the sand as a reference to the passage in the Bible that describes the incident of Noah's sending the doves out to find land after the flooding of the earth. He was searching for a place to land and rest. Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? Cannonballs were popular destructive tool of war during medieval wars. Peace will be come out only after these weapons were banned. In the third line, the poet asks how many times the weapons will be used before they might be totally banned. In other words, the poet says that we have fought enough wars and they should be ended now. The answer, my friend, blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The poet says that the answer to all of the questions he raised in the lines above lies in the wind. That is, the answer does exist everywhere and is waiting for someone to grab it. But the problem is that nobody troubles to quest for those answers. The next answer, yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? In this line, the poet says that how many years can a mountain exist? Here, the mountain symbolizes the pride and ego. According to the poet, the desire for war of strong people as mountains will not last for long. It will sink in the sea someday. Sea symbolizes change and true freedom that slowly destructs the strength of mountain. Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they are allowed to be free? Here there is a direct reference to the discrimination against the Afro-Americans who were treated as second-class citizens in spite of living in free country. It shows the denial of civil rights. The poet wonders when these people will be able to live freely and might not just exist on the earth. Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just don't see? The poet wonders how many times the good men will ignore the unjust and discriminatory things that they see around them. He's waiting for the day when people will raise their voice against discrimination instead of pretending or acting that there is no inequality. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. He repeats that the answer lies before us and waits for someone to grab it. Yes, and how many times must man look up before he can see the sky? Here, the sky represents freedom. According to him, the sky, that is, freedom, is hidden before the wars. So he wonders how many times one will have to face the wars in order to gain freedom and liberty. Here, the poet refers to the long quest of the people for freedom. Next line, yes, and how many years must one man have before he can hear people cry? He wonders how long the government will remain deaf to the sorrows of the commoners, when it will hear the people's plea against war and in favor of peace. Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? He wonders when the government will realize that too many people have died because of war and it should be stopped now. It is a plea of the poet for peace. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. And the answer to all these questions, Bob Dylan, are there in the wind. They move, they change, but the answers are there. It's only a matter of trying to pick them up. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. These lines are repeated in the song, so it is a refrain. A refrain is the line or lines that are repeated in music or in poetry. The attitude of the people is reflected in this refrain. The people are not ready to find a solution to their problems when the solution is at their reach. A figure of speech used in the poem is rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions are open-ended questions. That means these questions have no specific answer. Dylan employs familiar and simple imagery. A man, a dove, the mountain, the sea, and cannonballs are images used by the writer. Man symbolizes the people who face injustice and hope for justice. Dove is an emblem of peace, and it reminds us the enduring struggle for harmony and equality. The mountain is the symbol of strength of the human nature. Sea represents change and true freedom that slowly destructs the strength of the mountains. Through a simple melody, Dylan presents us with the problems of our society and forces us to think how these problems go unnoticed. The soul-stirring and powerful lines lend a heart-touching effect to the poem. Hope you understood this song well. Read the textbook. See you in the next class. Thank you.